Morning, Ian.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah,
Always making that podcast room look good, right?
yeah, getting in early. You got to use it. I mean, we've got this sweet on-air light that makes the
Yeah,
room green, glow green. It's pretty fun. And
very on brand.
yeah, got all
Mine's
the
got a little bit of a purple hue to it. I'm in this hotel in Austin, and I've stayed in this hotel chain once before in London. It's I think M Citizen,
yeah,
but the width of the room is literally the length of a bed. It's like a little tiny capsule. My wife said it looked like a dorm room. I think it's really cool. Like it shows like how space efficient you can be.
yes,
The
yeah,
hotel's nice, but I'm used to Texas hotel rooms being these grand, expansive places, and I'm pretty sure that like the bathroom, inclusive of the shower, is about the size of a normal toilet closet a at a normal hotel. Like it's kind of cool from a design side.
yeah. That is cool. Probably the size of the podcast room here. I hope it's a little bigger.
The the the
Your
whole
hotel.
the whole hotel room is a little bit bigger than the podcast room, but not a lot
Okay.
bigger.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's sweet. But yeah. Uh,
Cool.
what do you got? What have we got on tap for today?
Yeah, so we had a team released a clean fuels report, and I think there's some interesting things to call out.
Mm-hmm.
Just what's happening on the clean fuel side, because we are seeing shifts there. And then there was some U.S. Department of Energy funding towards both my favorites, geothermal.
Yeah.
um, don't know if it's your favorite, but and then the last one was around CO2 enhanced oil recovery, which I think is sort of an opportunity that's put on the back burner. I think if we're talking about CCUS, we're still seeing momentum in CCUS, and there's actually been some interesting news around a couple of hubs forming in Louisiana. Maybe I'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, got a few things to talk about more on the molecules side of things. Oh, I guess geothermal electron side of things, but
Yeah. I mean, I agree. The clean fuels bit has been very interesting. We put a big fundamentals type of report. So for those who aren't familiar with that, it's a 40, 50 page or slide deck that really updates and is intended to push the edge of like where our understanding is and sort of our perspectives on a space. And in this case, it was around clean fuels. So pretty comprehensive note, but lots of things to point out there. I mean, the thing that always stands out to me is the alphabet soup. There's so many different acronyms, and there's a lot.
My
and so it's
eyes
like
kind of glaze over sometimes when I hear them, but there's actually a really nice need to know of acronyms in the report.
Yeah,
it's like I gotta
reference. That one's wild. There's also some really nice charts and flow charts through there, just because it's so pathway dependent. So for those that aren't super deep into clean fuels, a lot of the value is unlocked by finding the appropriate feedstocks, intermediate steps, and final products, and collecting the correct pathway through there so you can get the maximum value for the environmental attributes. And that could come in the form of tax credits or CDRs or other things. So there's some like amazing like flow charts there of just the different pathways you can follow, and some great analysis illustrating just how different and differentiated the economics can be if you take different paths.
Yeah. There's some incredible visuals. Actually, I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, other things that stood out to me is just sort of the trajectory of the clean fuel space. It's kind of down a little bit, right? Maybe I forget what our previous forecast was, but it's the growth rate is slower for sure.
Yeah, like decelerating from 6-7% CAGR down to maybe 2 or 3%, I think, to the rest of the decade here. So still growth, but much more GDP-linked growth versus accelerated.
Yeah, but I think there's still a ton of opportunities, and I think that's what's really teased out, particularly with sort of the way not only that you can stack credits, and we talk about this all the time in the CCUS space because there's no inherent value in CO2. You've got to find something, credit to use it for, unless you're utilizing it, right? And we'll talk about that as well. But just creative ways to look at, say, 45Z, 45Q&L, CFS, and CDR, and how you can, I guess, stack some of those, but time them for how you're going to actually use those credits through the duration of that project. So starting with like 45Z until that expires, moving into the LCFS and 45Q, and then ending with the carbon dioxide removal market, assuming that CDR credits remain viable out until the late 2030s.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you're looking at stacking those credits, you're essentially increasing the value of these ethanol facilities by like 2 times, which is
like incredible. An incremental 2 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's a good call. Like I mean, the value for sure, but I guess this is the first time I think we've really illustrated in the analysis clearly the temporal stacking. Like we've talked a lot about like which combination of credits, but in this case, it's now where and how do you sequence them also has a big impact.
Totally, huge impact. Yeah, and we're seeing it. We're seeing that's where the dominant offtake agreements have happened so far. We took a look at ethanol offtake agreements, and it's like 50%, probably more than 50% of ethanol emissions in the United States have offtake agreements. So the opportunity is seen. The cost of capture is low, so it helps with the economics as well. There's rail networks that can support these projects in the interim before, say, building out pipelines. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Maybe that ties into some of the CO2 EOR stuff that you've been looking at as well.
Yeah. And I mean, if we're talking about value in these projects, it's all about how do you stack, incremental pieces on these projects to deliver more value out of them, right? And CCUS is talked a lot about, and I think we're actually seeing successful cases of it happening. There's, for example, CF Industries has developed, I think, a pretty cool framework for hubs, what hubs are starting to look like in Louisiana. CF Industries being, an expert chemicals company that knows the chemical side of the business. They've partnered with Enbridge and Oxy for one project where they're essentially building a 50-mile pipeline to take emissions from an ammonia facility, sequester those. And then they've done another partnership with EnLink and Exxon to transport CO2 and then sequester. So you're starting to see this. And sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but
no, it's a good tangent.
Starting to see that value chain stack up with sort of experts on the chemical side, experts on the midstream side, and experts on the upstream side, which in CCUS I call the downstream side. Gets confusing, but each one of those players are experts in developing those kinds of pieces, those pieces of the business, and that's what we're seeing. Instead of say, I think earlier it was like, well, we're going to see more full value chain projects stood up, and I think we still are. Yeah. And that might be more of a case of, say, enhanced oil recovery, where you're getting additional value from a produced barrel of oil, but you're also getting value from a sequestered ton of CO2. And
where would you say the momentum's greater? Like we've made a lot about the economics of EOR, and that's pretty spectacular with 45Q adjustments being sort of levelized with everything else. Like is there more going on in the EOR space? Are you seeing a little bit more momentum still in sort of standalone or permanent sequestration space?
I think we're seeing more momentum in the permanent sequestration space, which is interesting to me because the economics just look so good from an enhanced oil recovery space. But I think the reason why we're not seeing more momentum on the EOR space is that you're likely not able to get the same monetization from a low carbon fuels perspective. You're still getting the 45Q credit, which is great. But emitters, say, if they have net zero targets, may not want to be associated with enhanced oil recovery. And so that's why I think we might not be seeing as much momentum there. Where we are seeing the momentum is a switch from natural CO2 to anthropogenic CO2, which is the ability to actually get the 45Q credits. And so, but in 2015, pretty much all CO2 for enhanced oil recovery projects was going to, it was coming from natural sources. So, Jackson, Del McElmo, actually producing CO2 from the subsurface. And now about 15% of that, I believe, is coming from actual anthropogenic sources. Yeah. So mostly natural gas processing. But we're starting to see that shift. And, you're looking at dropping produced oil break-evens if you own the whole value chain by like half. And then on top of that,
$20
there's a bit of a paradigm.
Very, very low end here.
Oh, I lost you there.
like sub $20 break evens.
Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if that's on my end or yours.
I can hear you.
Anyways, maybe the audience can hear us still. Hold on here. Interesting. Huh.
Still there?
I think it's on my end. I lost sound. Anyways, I'm sure the audience can still hear us, so we can still talk about this. Maybe I just can't hear you. But where was I with this? But what we're seeing is a paradigm. I think what we will see is a paradigm shift in terms of how CO2 EOR fields are optimized, because historically you had you wanted to optimize for recycling of CO2. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Ian?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Making sure the mic still works. So operators were optimizing for the recycling of CO2 because you're paying, say, $30, $40 a ton for CO2, and you don't want to pay more for that. Now, essentially, you're getting money for that sequestration of it. So I think there's going to be a shift towards optimizing or not having to care so much about recycling of CO2 to get the oil out, because the CO2 actually has so much inherent value when it's permanently sequestered.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try changing my headphones here. Maybe we'll have to call it.
Yeah, let's cut it.
Hold on. Give it one more sec here. Come on. One more shot. Otherwise, we'll have to call it. Oh, I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
We're back.
Oh,
a little pause, but we're back.
Yeah. Anyways,
talk about break evens and the rest, and
yeah,
cut in half to $20, right? Like very, very low.
Yeah. And the other piece is the paradigm shift, I think, in terms of, let's optimize for sequestration rather than recycling, because you're going to pay to recycle the CO2 now, whereas you're getting revenue for actually sequestering it. So some really cool stuff on that front, and I think you'll have to see how this. I mean, I'm surprised we don't see more of this being built out or announced, but I think we will see a bit more of it going forward, especially as, say, for example, Tier 1 inventory declines and we're starting to look for more oil.
Yeah. I mean, it strikes me that a lot of the distraction or a lot of the challenge is twofold. One is, OBBA it's still 6 months old and a lot more 8 months old now, right? And it takes some time to really get the momentum of the adjustment and the incentive. And then I think you highlighted the other piece is just availability of CO2, and counterparties may be reluctant, but also just where you need it is not necessarily where you have it, and it's a different.
Infrastructure is expensive. Pipelines
very
are hard to build.
Yeah.
So if you can find these opportunities near emissions with short pipelines or where infrastructure exists, I think it's a great opportunity.
Cool.
So last piece,
DOE funding.
US DOE, talk about our favorite geothermal. The DOE announced 170 million or so towards geothermal, and it's mostly towards like field scale demonstration of de-risking next generation geothermal for electricity, particularly. I mean, actually, there's some heating funding. There's some goals around district heating and things like that as well. But I think it's a step in the right direction. It's not billions of dollars, 170 million. We've seen pretty big DOE grants towards, for example, direct air capture, which is see where that's headed now. It's but a lot of this is going towards like field scale testing of different EGS types, whether it's EGS, AGS, to enhance or advanced geothermal systems, and sort of with an emphasis on the ability to replicate those technologies in different geologic settings. So I think Fervo's done a great job along with Forge and de-risking EGS in Utah. But can we expand that elsewhere, right? There's also a focus area which I think is overlooked quite a bit. I think it is around district heating. It's overlooked in the United States, not overlooked in Europe. Like there's huge district heating networks. I think Austria has announced like 20 billion towards district heating projects, but the U.S. has kind of been silent on that, except for I think Boise, Idaho, which has geothermal district heating.
Yeah.
So that's another focus area, and the last one's around exploration and drilling. And drilling is a huge component of geothermal. We need to bring those costs down to make geothermal competitive. And the exploration component, I think, leads to say how we're actually going to find new resources. And I think we've seen some pretty cool advancements with both Zanskar, which is using AI to find geothermal hotspots, and Fervo has actually done that successfully with one of the recent test wells where they drilled and found an anomaly of a hotspot. And so, I mean, it's funding in the right direction to help both de-risk and bring down geothermal costs. And it's cool to see the DOE spending more money in the space.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's a lot of money, but given that scope of objectives, it's probably not that much money in some ways.
Yeah.
I think the thing that gets me is like the hotspot bit, right? Like it starts to look more and more like exploration again, and you can map the broader macro themes and trends, but I'm sure there's huge economic gains to be had by finding little micro hotspots and anomalies.
Totally. I mean, geothermal gradient is, or bottom hole temp. I mean, geothermal gradient is probably one of the biggest levers that you can pull to bring down costs. Higher gradient, higher bottom hole temperatures, ultimately lower LCOE.
Do you have a sense of how big the anomalies can be in like relatively small areas? Let's say like 10 miles apart.
Not really, no. Yeah. But anecdotally, I have heard that it can be pretty big. Like if you're, I mean, the way right now geothermal bottom hole temperatures are generally mapped is, you drill a well, you test the bottom hole temperature after drilling, you get a temperature. There could be problems with when you took that temperature reading, whether it was right after circulation, in case you totally underestimate what that bottom hole temperature is, or there could be a shift between, say, the granitic basement rock and the actual sedimentary rock itself, right? Because you're not drilling into the granite, and could have some stronger regional aquifer flow that's masking what the geothermal gradient may be just slightly below that. And so I have heard in conversations that there have been surprising results when drilling into the basement, that those geothermal temperatures are much higher than expected.
The geos will have their day again. It's not all about the engineers.
Yeah, you still got to drill the wells to see what that temperature is like. But I think we're seeing now more and more that AI is helping us unlock some of those resources that may have been more difficult to unlock previously.
Very cool. Yeah, lots to pay attention to there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got for today. I got to bounce to the next thing here, but
cool.
Always good to chat.
Yeah, pleasure as always. Have a good day in Austin and safe flight home.
And thanks. It's going to be a bit of a journey. Austin's so hard to get back to Calgary from.
Yeah, it is in a bit of a weird spot.
Yeah.
And everybody watching, thanks for watching. I gotta call this out every time, I think. But if you have any ideas for topics for us to discuss next week, put them in the chat. I don't think anybody ever has, but maybe someday somebody will, and it'll be very exciting.
Yeah.
So make our day and do that if you're still listening. But anyways.
All right. Well, much appreciated, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.